Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
In film and television, villains have become some of the most liked characters to this day. From Darth Vader to Scar to the Joker, these characters are more liked than their hero counterparts. During lockdown, I found an old diary from when I first watched Star Wars. I expected to read about heroes, but instead I wrote about Darth Vader. My dad hated him. To him, Darth Vader was evil, as he, I think, grew up with the original films, while I loved the prequels, which explained why he was so misunderstood. I loved the character as it gave him morals and the motive for the reason he became bad, which I think I found I connected to the character more as he had more emotional depth. But that made me wonder, why do we love villains so much?
My favourite villain is Two-Face from the DC universe.
Electro from the second Amazing Spider-Man movie.
Probably Bill Cipher. I think Gravity Falls is a really nostalgic show for me.
Morgana from Merlin.
Fanny Valentine from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Mother Gothel from Tangled.
Dennis from Jurassic Park.
Ian from the Alvin and the Chipmunks series.
Villains are everywhere, from animated lions to fallen heroes to gods of mischief. Villains are pivotal to the plot. Sometimes fans even prefer them over the heroes. But why? Why are audiences drawn to the characters that destroy, manipulate, or even kill?
People end up wanting to see something which is different from the norm and something exciting, I would like to say. Not saying that being morally bad is exciting, but a lot of people have a lot of internalized feelings which they do not express, and that can sort of lead to wanting to see someone who isn't limited by social norms. In psychology, everyone is viewed as different. So there are trends, but it can be different from person to person. So for example, if someone is quite introverted and in many situations they do not stick up for themselves, they may feel more connected to someone who does stick up for themselves or is more outspoken. In a lot of TV shows, books, movies, all forms of media, heroes are always seen as morally justified and like everyone else. And in most cases, people will end up rooting for the hero. But more and more, especially with increased levels of social media and ingestion of said media, people end up not wanting to see norms and wanting to see people who are like them, but seeing more differing versions of not only moral code, but also how people act on a day-to-day.
Some villains aren't born evil. Some are created through pain. For example, Darth Vader. He started off as Anakin Skywalker, a frightened child who just wanted to protect the people he loved. But a lot of grief and manipulation ended up causing him to become one of cinema's most iconic villains of all time. Even characters like Scar, they reflect something that is real. Like, he reflects jealousy, feeling overshadowed, and like wanting power after years of being ignored. This is why we feel connected to these characters, is because they just feel real to us.
In film and TV, a lot of fictional villains are shown most of the time to be evil inherently all the time, with no budge, up until a certain point, where if they show a backstory, it's normally either to make a point or to change the narrative. So in the very famous movies, Harry Potter, the character Snape was thought in the first 3 movies to be inherently evil. And then you see a backstory and saw that he was bullied. He ended up joining a bunch of people who were evil, but it seemed like he joined them as he had no one else. Even though he joined the dark side of wizardry, and he was still able to produce a Patronus charm, which, for context, anyone who does dark arts or does any of the banish spells which get you an Azkaban, they can't then produce a Patronus charm as they are too evil, and a Patronus charm is there to show purity of heart and soul. So even though he killed people and did all of these evil things, he was still able to produce a Patronus charm, which shows that he was still a good person. I think it can make you change your view on an evil character, because initially you would think they're all evil, they can do no right, and then when you see their backstories it can make you empathise more with them, which can make you feel like they are more reasonable. So some of their actions are all right, or you can back them up with why they did it.
You have all these characters labelled a villain, but then there's characters like Eren Yeager. He's from Attack on Titan, a character who began as a hero, but he slowly became far more dangerous. You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, which is a quote from The Dark Knight by Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face. However, Eren was more of a complex character because audience disagree whether he was actually a villain at all. His actions were very horrific, but his motivations were from fear and the desire for freedom. It's not just audiences who love villains, actors love playing them too. Villains are often more emotionally complex than their heroes. They're unpredictable, emotional, or even theatrical. They command attention.
Would you like to play the fictional villain?
Absolutely.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like there's a lot to them. Like, there's more than people think, I think. I like the idea of adding depth to them.
I would say because, it's different from like playing the hero, because sometimes the heroes are just like the same plot, same morals, and sometimes it's just a bit boring. And the villains, you get to explore a bit more with that.
Would you prefer playing the villain or the hero?
I think the villain. I think there's more complexity in a villain and more depth, and you get to like really dive in deep into who they are and their backstory.
I think it depends, because you can have a villain be interesting but not very in depth, but then you can have a hero be very stereotypical. If I go back to Invincible himself is a stereotype in terms of heroes, but he's different.
Have you ever played a villain?
I have. It was very fun. We did a short film called Down the Rabbit Hole, and I was the White Rabbit, and it was really cool because of how sinister she was.
I haven't really got the chance to play a villain except for like a bit part in a show where I only had 3 lines. I was like part of the pirate gang.
I have. Yeah, I only tend to play villains in the things I'm cast in. So that either if that's on stage or on film, I play a lot of bad characters.
Have you ever found yourself sympathising with a villain you've played?
Yeah, because when you're doing character work, you can kind of explore their background and understand why they're behaving the same way they are.
Yes. Well, that's sort of part of my process, is that I like to find ways in which I might be able to link with the character in the way that I think. Obviously, it's never like exactly the same because they are horrible people, but a lot of the time it's a lot of the same, like thinking back to their childhood, why they might be like that, and I find comparisons to the way that I grew up. That's one of my methods.
How do you get into the mindset of playing a villain?
I think, like I was saying, come up with the backstory, maybe try and understand why they're the way they are. You could try some method acting, depending on obviously don't do anything evil, but just try maybe live a day as the villain or something.
Would you like to play a villain in the future?
Absolutely. 1,000%, yeah.
Yeah, I really would. Yeah, I think it'd be really fun.
Yes, I would love to play a villain in the future. I want a chance to do it one day. Please give me the opportunity.
Yes, but I probably will, let's be honest.
Villains are allowed to fail publicly, and heroes usually have to stay morally good, which allows villains to be messy. For actors, that complexity creates freedom. A villain can be terrifying one moment and sympathetic in the next. The villain existed to be defeated. There was little explanation, little emotion, and rarely any sympathy. But modern-day audiences expect more. Villains like Loki, Eren Yeager, and Scar reflect a shift in storytelling, where audiences are encouraged to not just fear the villain, but to analyze them. For example, social media has pushed this even further. Clips, edits, and online discussions allow fictional villains to exist beyond their original stories. Audiences debate their motives, rewrite their narratives, and build entire communities just around them. In many ways, villains have evolved from these side characters into cultural icons. And maybe that says something about modern audiences. We no longer just want stories about the good versus the evil. We want stories about people. Villains remind us that people are complicated, that fear can become anger, that pain can become destruction, and that sometimes the line between a hero and a villain is thinner than we'd like to admit. Maybe we don't love villains because they are evil. Maybe we love them because we understand them.